One. Hello, how you doing? And welcome back to another episode of Two Jagoffs. I am your host, Austin Carnes, and we are back here on Zoom for yet another interview. Unfortunately, I'm starting to lose my voice today. Did a couple of episodes yesterday, but that's okay. We're back here on Zoom, and we're bringing on a very special guest today. She is a part of the 45th District of Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome PA State Representative Anita Kulik. Representative Kulik, good morning. How's it going with you?
It's great. How are you today?
I am doing pretty good. A little on the tired side, but we're hanging in
Yeah,
there. We're doing pretty good today.
same here.
So I wanted to kind of just start off getting to know you a little bit. So of course you represent PA, you're in the political field. What initially made you want to get into politics?
I kind of married into it. I met my husband, and he was a commissioner in Kennedy Township. So I immediately was thrown into when we met, he was running for reelection, and I really got involved in helping him get reelected and being involved in the township and the workings of that. We had a local law practice here in Kennedy Township. And it just was very interesting to me. It was something I had never thought about or been involved with before, but I really love the local level of politics. I think it's the purest form of politics and governing, and it was just a great thing to be involved with.
Absolutely. And I mean, when I look at the wider scale of politics, especially with what's going on right now, it seems like there's like a lot of division going on right now. Would you say that's pretty similar on the local level, or would you say that it's a little more hands-on? What's your thoughts on that?
No, I look, I really think that any of the divisiveness is on the federal level. We don't, I don't really see it in my communities. I represent 10 municipalities, and I really don't see that partisanship going on. Even when you have local boards that have a mix of, say, Republicans and Democrats, maybe an independent here and there, I don't really see the divisiveness on the local level.
Absolutely. Now, when you work for a great state like the state of Pennsylvania, I'm obviously born and raised in Carnegie. I'm a big Pittsburgh fan.
So was
Absolutely
I.
love, oh, Carnegie's amazing. And I absolutely love a
It
small town
is.
like this. What are some opportunities, I guess, that like can be generated? Obviously, you've been hands-on working on a bunch of different projects in Carnegie, in PA, in Pittsburgh. What is some stuff that I guess some students or just people in general can look forward to?
Well, I think it's really important for young people to get involved. There's going to be a point where folks my age are going to retire from all this. And we really are seeing more and more young people, and I mean young people, getting involved. And that's very encouraging. Uh, they, you talk about the Carnegie mayor. We had two young mayors. We had Stacy Riley, and now we have a really young mayor coming into Carnegie in November, hopefully, and Sam Bingham, and he's young, and it's something that folks should be getting involved in. And I think the younger you get involved in it, the more you will be interested in it.
Now, something we were actually talking about in the Sam Bigham interview, because Bigham actually joined us on Two Jagoffs last week and had a nice little discussion at Point Park. One of the major concerns for a lot of voters out there was that youth and was that inexperience. So, I guess playing devil's advocate here for a second, what advice would you give to those voters who are maybe worried that someone too young isn't too inexperienced for that role?
Uh, there are some highly intelligent young people. Experience does mean a lot, and I do like to see folks get some experience under their belts. So I think the local level of government is a great place to start if you want to go into an elected position. If you want to start a little slower, just getting involved in the community, volunteering with the community organizations, the CDCs, churches, anything. In Carnegie, there's so many active community groups
Yep.
from the CDC, from just community activities that people can volunteer for, whether it's putting plants in the pots in the spring or cleaning up the streets in the fall. There are so many opportunities, and Carnegie, particularly the local churches and other community organizations from the Boys and Girls Club, the Salvation Army. There are other groups in Carnegie doing so many wonderful things that you really can get your feet wet and then see if it's something you want to do.
Of course, of course. And I mean, the Carnegie does such a good job with that too. I mean, like even the Carnegie Crawl,
Mm-hmm.
the event they set up
Yeah.
down in the town, it's such a nice event to go to. You're able to mingle, meet some other people, give back
Uh-huh.
to small businesses and stuff like that. And that's something Sam Bigham was talking a lot about in our interview. He was going on about how he wants to give back to smaller businesses, take on his climate action plan. I guess what exactly would you do within your role, and how like would people on your level work with someone on a smaller level like Mayor Sam Bigham?
I've had a great relationship with Stacey Riley since she got elected. I personally am very involved with the local governments and the local communities. Uh, they're the backbone of Pennsylvania. And we, as someone in a higher level, say, on the state level, even if you're on the county level, the local municipalities are what keep this state spinning. And you have to have a good relationship with everybody. And I've enjoyed that with I started out with 14 municipalities, and we had our redistricting, which that is done every 10 years after the census. And I have 10 now. It's all based on population, and they're just fantastic communities. I had some left, and I had some new ones added in the redraw, and it's been great getting to know everyone in the new towns. So it's building those relationships, them knowing that they can just call you and say, "Hey, we need this in the town, and this is a state issue. What can you do to help us?"
So would you say, I guess, with just kind of looking at this from an outsider's perspective, with what you're saying, your role is kind of like you're right in the middle. So like, I guess like maybe like a governor is on a higher level, the mayor's on a lower level. Are you guys kind of the ones that's like kind of bobbing and weaving through that, or how exactly does that process work?
Well, I think all government's on an equal footing. Even on the state level, we are all co-equal branches of
Mhm.
that government. But your state representative is, I think, for state issues, the one that you're reaching out to the most. We have the smaller district. Remember, state senator has a much larger district. There are 203 state representatives across Pennsylvania. There are 50 senators. So their districts are far larger than mine. We tend to have around 65, 66,000 people in our district. That's what it's kind of, they try and keep that at that when they do the redraws. So we are really more local than anyone on the state level. And it really does feel like a local position in so many ways.
That's such a cool thing too. And I was actually doing some homework and some research before this interview, and I got really excited when I saw you were from Carnegie. And I thought you went to Carleton, but I see you went to Bishop Canevin High School. I thought that was
So,
pretty unique.
yeah. So my mom, when I started grade school, she started teaching at St. Simon and Jude. So we went there. And
Mm.
then when they had the school there, and then it was just a pushover. They wanted us to have a Catholic education, and we went to Canevin. My brother and sister and I all went to Canevin.
That's awesome. So earlier you were mentioning about how you kind of married into politics. I guess what was the original path you were maybe looking to go down then, just out of curiosity, if you were going to Bishop Canevin and then post, I guess, high school?
Well, post high school, I went to Duquesne and I wanted to go to law school. So I did that. And fortunately, my husband's also a lawyer. So I met him actually downtown when I was working downtown for one of the local judges. And when I married him, he was already in politics. He had been in politics for a very long time. He started on the school board level at Montour and then moved into commissioner spot in Kennedy. And then there was a point where he wanted to retire from that. And the board thought I would be a good fit for that. So I was appointed and then I ran for office and I spent close to 13 years as a commissioner in Kennedy Township.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So something that I was looking into, especially here in PA, is the importance of unions. My dad, he's a big union guy. He works for the Teamsters, gives back a lot to different communities and stuff like that. And obviously, I grew up in a union family, so the unions is close to my heart. Why is it so important, though, to so many families out there and so many Pennsylvanians that unions are around and unions coexist?
Look, unions, I don't see how this country survives without unions. Unions protect workers, whether they are union workers or non-union workers. They protect everybody. We would not have weekends without unions. We would not have so many things without unions. Uh, Health care for workers, safety for workers in the workplace. Without unions pushing for that for the past 100 some years, I just don't think we survive in this country without it. They keep things in a good check and balance on industry. I, totally support all of our unions and what they do. And I think people not in unions really need to realize how they benefit because of these union workers. They would not have the wages they have if it wasn't for union members fighting for their wages.
Of course, couldn't agree more. So when I see stuff like that in the media about how unions should be shut down or unions should be
Yeah,
dismantled, I just kind of look around. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like this is how most of us are living a happy life
yeah,
and are able to give back and do so much more.
yeah. People, again, don't realize the contributions unions have made to their lives, whether they are in a union or not. They have to realize that. And again, if we don't have unions, work situations for everybody are going to deteriorate. And we cannot have that. People have to stand together.
Of course, no, I could not agree more with that. So looking, I guess, back at some of the stuff that's going on here, I guess maybe on the Pittsburgh level, there was a recent election that took place with Ed Gainey and Corey O'Connor. I know that was pretty much a bloodbath, as many would call it. Me and Teresa Kale Smith actually talked about it, and she was saying that it was very tough to watch and very tough to work with. Does that affect you guys at all on your level, or like how exactly did that election, I guess, turn about with what you guys are currently working on?
Um, so from my perspective, it really has no effect. I do not have any city neighborhoods in my
Mhm.
district. I am all suburban. They are all independent municipalities. So it was not an issue for me on the level of my district. Now, we have our Allegheny delegation, which is made up of all the state representatives who represent different areas of Allegheny County. And, you know, can what happens in the city affect us? It's more, I think, an issue of when the city is coming to us and needs help on the state level. So really it just depends who's in office and how we all get along. And we've gotten along. This is my ninth year. And, we had good relationships with Mayor Peduto, with Mayor Gainey, and, coming down the road. Uh, if it's Mayor O'Connor, we'll have a good relationship with him. And that's where we just, as a delegation, we stand together to help Allegheny County, and a big part of that is the city.
Of course. Now, in those 9 years, just kind of some reflection here for a second. What would you say is something that you are the most proud of, I guess, working on, working with, or doing in PA?
Uh, it's kind of hard to say because really every day I spend in my district and talking to people, and when you have somebody come up and say, your staff just did a great job helping me, or you did something to help me, or it was really nice to have you personally talk to me. That's very rewarding. I'm very proud of the bills I have worked on, and some of them are actually getting pushed through now.
Hmm.
I'm very proud of that. I've worked closely with domestic violence bills, uh, and I am working currently on two bills that just came out of Judiciary Committee. One that would change some of the aspects of equitable distribution considerations. It's going to help judges out when they're dealing with family pets. I also had a bill come out of Judiciary this week that is dealing with violence against sports officials. I am extremely proud that I am the first woman to be appointed as the majority chair of the House Game and Fisheries Committee. And I've
Wow.
been really excited to work on all the issues that surround hunting, fishing, outdoor activities. Uh, there's so much that falls under that committee, and it's so exciting because I've learned so much. I may not be, a professional sports person uh, as far as, hunting and fishing, although I've had a lot of fun going out and doing those activities. But I think my perspective as a lawyer, bringing that to the table and being able to work with the Game Commission and the Fish and Boat Commission have been very valuable to me. And I hope it is to them also. But I'm really proud of the fact that I got that committee and being the first woman in charge of it, had to take some baby steps with everyone because they weren't used to that. But yeah, it's worked out really well.
That's incredible. What does that really make you feel like though? Like being the first woman to be able to have that kind of role. Like that must feel really cool.
Well, it really is. And there's so many women who are involved in hunting across Pennsylvania and fishing and boating
Mhm.
that it's really great to now be part of all that.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Now you intrigued me with whenever you said the one bill about sports officials. Because I mean, after all, I am a pretty massive sports fan here. Can you maybe explain a little bit more what that bill entails, if you're even allowed to?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's all public. So, what is going on now with sports officials across the United States? It's not just a Pennsylvania problem. There are a lot of other states who are putting out bills, and some have gone into law to further protect sports officials. What is going on now is, well, first of all, I think people have to realize that we cannot have any games, whether it's a T-ball game for 3-year-olds, whether it's youth sports, any student athletic games, college sports, etc. You can't have those without officials.
Correct.
Officials, they are not just there to enforce the rules of the game, they're also there to make sure that all our athletes and coaches, everybody, are safe while on the field. Now, we all know everybody sits, we watch the Steeler games, we sit there, we yell at the officials out on the field.
All guilty of it.
Whether yeah, we're armchair quarterbacks. We all sit there and either yell at the coaches, we yell at the players, we yell at the officials. There's a point where it's being taken farther than that. And right now, it is a recognized problem in Pennsylvania and across the state. I've talked to numerous people, numerous officials in the WPIAL, in the PIAA. The violence has escalated against sports officials to where it's not just, hey, I'm sitting in the stands and I go, ref, put your glasses on. I can't believe you didn't see that. What's wrong with you? That's okay. The bill I put out has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is when that person leaves the stands now and follows that official to his or her car.
Mhm.
And now is not only escalating the harassment of that official, but then a lot of times it just falls into physical violence. We can't have that because we have a problem in Pennsylvania now because no one is really running, or very few people are really running to be sports officials.
Yeah.
They're either volunteering at a at the really local level, or if they are paid, the pay isn't that great. It's something that you really have to want to do, that you have a passion to do, that you really enjoy doing. And a lot of people now are either leaving it or they're going, why am I in this if it's not worth what I'm getting paid to get, abused by people, physically beaten by someone. It's just not worth it anymore. So we have to change that because we cannot have any of these games played without officials on the field. It just doesn't happen.
I find it to be interesting because as someone who actually broadcasts some college level games and has worked with high school sports and has pretty much been involved in sports my entire life, it's something that's been increasingly getting worse every single year. People
Mhm.
rushing the field, rushing the mound, going after an umpire, going after a ref. And kind of speaking from the inside here, there's a bit of an unspoken rule that if you're an athlete and someone does rush the field and goes after a player or a coach or a ref, it's free game. They can do whatever they want. And that's the last thing you want is violence out on the field. And
Yes.
I've seen it personally several times, if not dozens
Um,
of times, where someone
okay.
would rush an official and players would just jump them because guess what? You're breaching their territory as an
Yes.
outsider. And that's the
Yeah.
last thing you want to do because then it just completely messes up the flow of the game. It's not what the audience wants to see. It's not what the kids want to see. It's a bad influence to begin with. So I couldn't agree more
It's,
with that.
yeah. And, look, the adults have to be civil because what they're in effect doing is now teaching the children on the field and the young people on the field that it's okay that you can yell at that official. You
Mhm.
can yell at that coach because they didn't do what you wanted to do. That's not what we should be teaching our children or student athletes. We have to teach respect and civility, and this is how it goes. And it's a sad situation where we're not showing that, where the adults are not showing that to the children.
Of course. Now, does this bill also entail, I guess, certain things you can verbally say as well? Like, because I know a lot of times at these games, some people may say something that might be racist, sexist, homophobic. Would those kind of comments also kind of breach this new bill, or is this just more
It's
of the
going
physical
to,
side?
yeah, it's going to depend. Really, we're not, the intent of the bill is not to stop someone from yelling anything from the stands. It's really when you take it that next step and you are in the
Mhm.
face of that official, or you are, at their car waiting for them, holding a baseball bat or something. That is what the intent of the bill is. They should not have to have an escort back to their cars after a game.
Now, how I guess is this going to be laid down, I guess? Because the bill itself sounds great. I'm actually a big fan of this bill. This is something that's needed for a very long time, especially as someone
Mm-hmm.
that's been in sports. I guess what exactly is the criteria of punishment for someone that maybe does breach this law?
Well, so we're raising it from a misdemeanor 1 to a misdemeanor 3. So misdemeanor 1 is basically a summary offense. It's a slap on the wrist. It's like getting a traffic ticket. Misdemeanor 3, a judge has the ability then to impose a stiffer fine and maybe a possible sentence.
Wow. That's actually a pretty cool bill. I didn't even know that was being worked on. So being able to hear
Well,
something like that,
yeah,
that's
I've
cool.
actually been doing it for a long time, for a number of years, and the Judiciary Committee graciously has taken it up. It passed out of the Judiciary Committee, and I'm waiting for it now to get to the House floor. If it gets through the House, if it gets a vote on the floor, positive vote on the floor, then it goes over to the Senate. And then you have to go work on the senators. That's when the PIAA will get involved and go over and talk to the senators and say, hey, please, we'd love you to pass this out of the Senate also. After that, if that happens, and that's a slower process getting through the Senate. But if that happens, it would go to the governor's desk, and then the governor can choose whether or not to sign it into law, which
Wow.
I'm hoping the governor would be behind this. We're talking about a large constituency here of folks who are involved in sports programs.
I feel like if anybody would do it, it would be Governor Shapiro. I mean, after all, he's a pretty big sports fan himself.
He is, and yeah, I'm hoping it. But our first hurdle will be the House floor, and the second hurdle will be the Senate.
How tough is that process, passing it through all these different levels? Is this like a whole process in itself, or does it flow much smoother than it sounds?
Usually, if something gets through a committee, and it is pretty much, there's a really good chance that it will be taken up on the floor for a vote. It's once it's then sent over to the Senate, we vote on it on the floor, and then we report everything out of the floor and send it to the Senate. And they do vice versa. They'll send us whatever they pass out. Then it's a matter of just going over there and asking your senators to, hey, please consider this. We think it's worth taking up. I have a bill over in the Senate right now that deals with derelict and abandoned boats on our rivers. I don't know if you've noticed on our rivers and waterways, we have a lot of boats floating
Yeah.
around that people have just said, we don't want any more, and they just leave them afloat. in our rivers. And that's a real problem for municipalities and the Fish and Boat Commission. So that's what I'm working on now with the Fish and Boat Commission, trying to get the Senate now to take up that bill. So it's always a work in progress.
Always a work in progress.
Yes, but it's
So,
interesting, and it's in a lot of ways it's if you enjoy that kind of thing where you're talking to people all the time and make putting forth your arguments. And again, I think being a lawyer, I have that background of where you're trying to always convince somebody that your argument's the best one. Uh, it's a process.
of course, I couldn't agree more with that. So when we look at, I guess, just overall politics, and this will be probably pretty much the last question political that I have for you. There is a massive divide right now going on in this country. And I guess without getting too specific with the exact details of all the different things we could talk about that's being shown in the media, what is your just overall thoughts about the way things are being run right now and the way things are being perceived by, I guess, everyday citizens, especially here in PA, because PA is taking a massive hit as well.
So, Pennsylvania is the ultimate swing state. You don't know where you just don't know where voters are going all the time. And it's pretty much a federal level issue as far as that swing state. Um, the last year we had the uh, election, we had a presidential election, but so Pennsylvania voted Republican in the presidential level. They voted Republican for row offices. They voted Republican for the federal Senate. But the House and Senate on the state level, the state House, the state Senate, stayed the same.
Mm.
There was no flip. So Democrats retained in the House a one seat majority in the House that they had gained back in the prior election. The state Senate stayed Republican. It didn't, no change in numbers. So you don't know. Folks vote from the top down, and they're more likely to swing at the federal level than they are at the local level. If people like what their local politicians are doing, what their local electeds are doing, they tend to keep those folks, and it's more on the federal level. The divisiveness in the country is, to me, very sad. I'm very disappointed. I'm old enough to remember the early 70s when there was so much going on and everything was changing politically. And you had a lot of, again, same kind of thing, same kind of arguments going on. But we got through that and we changed our country for the better. I'm sad that things seem to be regressing right now. Uh, but I do tell people on the state level, state government is functioning well. Democrats and Republicans, we have very strong differences, but we're working together, especially on the House level. We know we have to work together. It's 102, 101. If anybody wants anything to happen, we have to work in a bipartisan manner. And I love telling people that, look, that's what's happening. It's not perfect on the state level. It's never going to be on any level of government. But I can honestly say that it's working well right now on the
And
state level. I'm really proud of that considering how dysfunctional our federal level is.
and it's nice to know that there's at least a little bit of hope on some sort of government level.
Yeah. Look, the municipalities within the 45th district are running really well. They have had local elections. There's going to be some changeover on the local level, but it's all going to function well. People try really hard to get along. Same thing on the state level. It's working well, and the county's doing okay. County
It's gonna be
has some growing pains, but they're doing okay also.
and it's gonna be real interesting to see how that shapes up over the next couple of years. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it with all these new officials coming in.
Yeah, well, and next year is the midterm election, so it's going to
Yep.
be very interesting to see what happens. And again, we're all Americans. We've got to stand together, and we have to go. Look, we have differences, but we can work it out with people in families not talking to each other now because of politics. We can't have that. We have to get over that.
No, that's the
And
worst part. I definitely have different views than some of my friends and some of my family, but I never let that divide us. I mean, at the end of the day,
yeah,
we're all humans. Like just because someone's a Democrat, someone's a Republican, someone voted for this, someone voted for that. Like it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're all people.
we all do. And I think I'm in a great area because my uh, municipalities in the district I represent, it's very purple here.
Mhm.
So people are well in the center for the most part, and it's great. It's wonderful to talk to people and to be able to talk about our differences. Because if you find out what someone's really concerned with on this side, and you find out what somebody's really concerned on that side, you go, wait a minute, we're all concerned about the same thing. It's just how we approach it. And there's always compromise, and there's always something that can be worked out. And that's what I love about the district that I represent. The people are so good hearted and so wonderful. And even with our differences we find, we
Absolutely.
always get along and find some kind of compromise.
Of course, unity will always prevail in the end. That's what I've always learned.
Yes, yes.
Unity. Now, Representative Kulik, thank you so much for joining me here on the podcast today. I really do appreciate it. I was going to leave you the floor. Did you have any final words that you would like to leave with the listeners of Two Jagoffs?
No, thank you for this. I love that young people are getting involved in things. I love seeing you talking, having you talk to me about different issues. It's inspiring and wonderful. So thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, and I definitely know the listeners will get a good listen out of this one. This is a really good episode, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Of course. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to yet another episode of Two Jagoffs. Until next time, we will see you in the next one. Peace.